So I've been playing AoE for a little while now since it came out on its release, and I've been having a really good time with it, as you've probably guessed from my previous video. That being said, there's a lot more people out there who've been playing the AoE series for a very, very long time. AoE 2 has been out forever. It is a beloved long-time classic, and people have got a huge range of feedback on the game. And I'm going to say feedback because I think it's important to highlight this. This is not saying that the game is bad, but there are areas certainly where we can improve on it. And I think it's good to give constructive feedback like this because at the end of the day we want this game to last, be in for the long haul, and potentially see some expansions and build on the fun that we're already having. Now, one of the more interesting things that I noticed was missing was the fact that there was no option to choose my race's colour. I absolutely love having my unit selected as orange, and I know you all have your favourite colours, so that would be fantastic if they actually put it in the game, and I'm surprised it wasn't. Now, the next thing that caught me off guard as well is that they've got all these different races, but there's no option to actually select a random race. Now, I know there are a lot of you who just sit behind your own civilization and really enjoy it, but random players are out there, and it makes things more interesting and it allows you to diversify with different strategies. And if you are someone who gets bored quite easily, then it's a great way to mix things up. Now, the next thing that hasn't been sitting all too well with me is the whole minimalistic UI that's being put in. Now, while it makes everything small and tidy and you can tuck it away into a tiny little panel and you can have 16 different units and 15 different upgrades in one tiny little block, it is really, really unclear. They all have the same colour, they all have the similar sort of design, you're not really sure what upgrade is doing what, and I know you could argue that playing it down the line you'll probably know what they all are and it'll be really easy to do, but if you are coming into the game from a relatively new position, it is super confusing. And while we're on minimalist kind of design, the way that things have been grouped together when you select units makes it really hard for you to micro away units with low HP, for example. And additionally, simple things such as selecting one unit is really difficult. The hitboxes feel really small at times, and if you accidentally select 5 workers, you've then got to deselect and then try again to select 1 worker, and it just feels really cumbersome and like you've got to put too much effort into it for a relatively small action. And even if you argue this game isn't about being micro-intensive and its grand strategy, it's still nice to have those additional details on your units to see what's going on. Now, another one that was brought to my attention was actually a really good point, was the whole fact that the stances are missing from units right now. So we don't have defensive stance, we don't have guard, and we don't have patrol. And in a game which is, built around grand strategy a lot bigger than the traditional RTS, I feel these things are kind of relatively important, or would be certainly a nice addition to have back in the game. Now, another thing that you may have noticed, I am an absolute avid fan of waypoints, but what I noticed about that each waypoint actually isn't all that easy to identify. I'm pretty sure in previous Age of Empire games there at least a flag to signify which was kind of like the joining point for a next waypoint, and that seems to have just gone out the window. And with the game being so busy and so much going on, I really feel that you need these key identifiers to kind of make the game a little bit clearer. Another thing that I found out, a bit of a surprise actually, the door went and I found that there was no pause button. And I feel that if you have, your partner agrees to pause, then you should both be able to have a break. But no, if you need to go to the loo or anything, or just run downstairs and pick up whatever, you're just going to have to sacrifice some idle time doing nothing. I think there are also some resources that need clarification of how much resource they have in them, especially when it comes to things like gold and stone. You look at a forest, for example, you can see how much wood has been taken away, but you look at the stone or a boar or the gold, you can't tell without actually clicking on it, and I feel like it's a bit of a redundant action to have to do so. So maybe an addition of a health bar would be really good, and then you could just briefly scan over it and see what you need to do next. Now, it'd also be really cool to have some kind of better clarification on what units have what upgrades. I know they've got kind of like those little symbol bars which you can have a look at, but it just feels like there must be a clearer way to clarify just how upgraded your units are, or what your tech tree does and how it displays. And I feel like this is a bit of a repeating theme, because we seem to talk about clarifying and making things clearer over and over again. Now, I know it's probably on the way, but I want to emphasize just how important important replays are. They allow new players and advanced players to go through and really analyze the meta, come up with new strategies, and just find a way to absorb and learn games in a faster manner. They also help out the content community and the esports community because it gives them material to recreate and cast games. And while we're on the topic of casting overlays, there need to be ways to see what units are currently in production, what upgrades are in production, what upgrades both of the teams have, better visuality on how the games are flowing in terms of economy and army, and just more verbose and robust camera controls to give a better viewing pleasure to your audience. Now I am just going to end it here because the game is fantastic and I am really enjoying it at the moment, and I got to say all of the things that I have named are just quality of life features. But it's features like this that will keep people playing the game and coming into the game because everyone will be saying what an enjoyable experience it is. The other thing as well is that this is the first RTS in a long time that many different fan bases have come together and are playing the same game. And I think it's an absolute brilliant thing to see, and I've got so much energy for this game at the moment, and it's been such a long time since I felt that excited about an RTS experience. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are there any improvements that you feel are needed, or do you feel that there are some things that need to be taken away? Let me know and I'll get back to you and we'll do a follow-up video on a later date. But for now, everyone have a great week and I'll be back with more news and reviews soon.